Hey guys, I hope you're all doing really well. This is just going to be a really quick video on some tips to applying foundation and how I apply my foundation. I'm not going to sort of show you now, I'm just going to tell you a couple of tips and tricks that I find help me. So to just get started, the first tip is to always use a primer, because I think that this makes your foundation go on a lot easier. It provides like a really smooth, soft base for your foundation to glide on top of, and primers are also really good at making your makeup last longer and look fresh all throughout the day. So yeah, I really recommend primers. I would never put on my foundation now without a primer. So the one I'm using at the moment is Gosh Foundation Primer Classic, which it's not my favourite primer, but it still does the job. I find sometimes that when I rub it on, it rubs in fine at first and then goes a bit like grainy almost, and then I have to keep rubbing it, and it kind of goes into small lumps sometimes. But you know, it's still perfectly fine. And another one that I also use at the moment is this L'Oreal Studio Secrets primer, which is a really thick cream. This is sort of more for filling in pores and giving an even finish, whereas this one's more an anti-shine primer. But I also really love the L'Oreal anti-shine primer, which looks like the Gosh one but in a slimmer bottle. And MAC have got a really nice primers. So yeah, there's so many primers out there. So tip number one is to always use a primer. Tip number two is to make sure that you get your foundation matched properly to your skin. Like, take the time just to go to a counter and ask them to match it properly, or if you're just buying a high street one, try and match it along your jawline, or take somebody with you and match your foundation on this area of your face, because a lot of people make the mistake of trying to try foundation on their hand, and your hand is like a totally different colour to your face, so you're really not going to get the correct colour. And even if you try and sort of just put a bit on your nose or something, it's really difficult to tell, so you just need to try it on this area, because you never want to have a harsh line. So if it blends on nicely on your jawline and blends well with your neck, then you know you've got the correct shade. And you know, if you do have trouble, then just go to a counter and ask somebody to help you. Because it's worth getting the correct shade of foundation. A lot of people get it slightly wrong, and you can always see when they're not wearing the right colour. And foundation's meant to look natural and just make your skin look more even and more flawless, but it's not meant to look obvious. It's meant to be sort of almost invisible and a perfect match to your natural skin colour. So always get the right shade. That's my second tip. Third tip is, you know, try to use a brush to apply your foundation. Sometimes I do use my fingers when I'm in a hurry, because it's quite easy to blend, but you do get a better finish if you use a foundation brush. You can just use a simple foundation brush like this one, which is just one from Screen Face that I've had for a while, or a stippling brush, which is the one that looks sort of like badger hair kind of colour, which is very sparse at the ends. That's really good for giving you a nice coverage that's nice and light and well blended. So yeah, and I always find that when I use a brush, my foundation seems to sort of last longer on my face. I don't know if that's just me, but you know, I think brushes are quite important. And yeah, and obviously the better brush you can get, then the better it's going to apply your foundation. So and another little tip that I was just going to tell you about is, as I said before, you really want to make sure that your foundation is blended perfectly onto your face, and that there's no sort of tide mark, I call it sometimes, along your jawline. And I've done it myself, where, you know, I do my makeup when it's not quite bright enough early in the morning, and then I go outside and look in the mirror when I get in my car, and I think, oh, I haven't like blended this properly, and I can see little sort of where I haven't done a good enough job. So what I do now to stop that happening is I apply my foundation first and blend it on nicely with my brush, and I'll get my fingers and just literally make sure that I blend it all down here on my jawline. And then the final step is to use a brush such as this one. You can use a powder brush, but I really love this one because it's really, really dense. And this is just the e.l.f. powder brush, and it's quite a big one. And all I do is blot it in some translucent powder, and I just really, really blend along my jawline, just like this, and all up the side. And just blend like that, and really basically buff this area of your face. And if you buff it really nicely, there'll be no harsh line there, and you'll know for sure that your foundation is really, really nicely blended into your neck. And you can also use this to apply powder on top of your foundation. You can just press it on to set your foundation and make it last longer. And it's very good just to press the powder on rather than sweep it up and down your face, because if you start sweeping it, you're kind of almost removing your makeup, and the powder's just being brushed across. But you want to just sort of press it on, and the powder will stay in place better and set your foundation. So that's just a couple of tips on things that I find really make my foundation look at its best and make it last longer. So I hope that helped some of you and it's given you some sort of ideas. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye!